Good evening, gentle listener, and welcome to Distractible. This week, the gents deride a great state, the home of pro football, rock and roll, and the hot dog. Yummy. Wade has a dishwasher delivery debacle, but knows his sausages. Mark admits he doesn't know what a esculus glabra is. And Sleepless Bob soldiers on and states Virginians love this place. From Cedar Point to roller coasters. Yes, it's time for Ohio stuff. Now sit back and prepare to be distracted and enjoy the show.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Distractible. I am your host, Bob, because I won last time. I was the only competitor, so a win seemed pretty inevitable, but here we are anyway. Technically, I'm a winner, which makes these other two losers my co-hosts and or today's competitors. As always, they will be Mark and Wade. They will be? They are? Are you currently Mark and Wade?
We will be.
We will be.
You will be when the time is right. Yeah, if you're new to this podcast that we do, every week there's a competition, and whoever wins competition hosts the next episode. So that's why I'm all smug and whatnot, because I'm a winner. And yeah, these guys are going to compete in a contest of my own creation for points that are meaningless and may or may not even exist. But before we get to that, we sort of skipped over one of the usual two segments we do last week. It was small talk. We didn't do small talk. Everything was all rhymey and riddly. And...
Well, there's two of us here. Can you tell us apart? One speaks in rhymes, the other's riddles. Quite smart. Our wordsman.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Wait, I'm the host. Does that mean I have to speak in rhymes and riddles? Is that the new rule?
I have a tale that hasn't been told yet, and it involves an appliance that can make things wet.
You have another new one that you didn't tell? I think you told us about this.
Well, I told you we were replacing our dishwasher. I didn't tell you how the lovely people handled our order.
Did you get it from Lowe's? Oh, why?
Because I had to see for myself what would happen.
And what did happen?
So, everything was going pretty smoothly. We went in, we looked at dishwashers, and we found one that we were like, okay, this is nice. I will say our house, we had black appliances, and apparently that's being phased out, so we had to go over to stainless steel because it's hard to find black appliances now. We found one we liked, we ordered it, we went through, I tried to make sure all the boxes were checked. I was like, all right, when can somebody bring it and install it in the house? Will they haul away the old one? And they're like, yes, and on top of that, do you want these cables, these new cables and hookups? And I was like, you know what? Why not? Be safe. If we don't need them, we don't need them. I can always return them, put them on, whatever. I want to make sure we have everything we need. They were like, okay, well, it's probably gonna be about a week out before they can come and do this. And I was like, all right, I mean, if that's what it is, that's what it is. And she looked and she was like, oh, actually, 2 days from now, 8 a.m. And I was like, Wednesday you can do afternoon. Me being the lazy man that I am, I took the Wednesday afternoon. So Wednesday afternoon, didn't quite make it there because Wednesday at 9:30 in the morning, knock, 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 ding dong. Hi, we're here with your dishwasher. This is 2.5 hours early. Yep. So they just kind of blew past me, brought it in, set it down, didn't ask me to sign anything. And they're like, all right, see ya. Time out. Put in. Oh, that's a different team. That's the installation team. We just drop off. Oh. When's the installation team coming? I don't know. You probably set that up whenever you ordered it. Well, today. Great. And they left.
Did they take your old dishwasher or did they just leave it sitting on the floor?
That's the installation team's job. So they brought in a new fully packaged styrofoam wrapped up.
They didn't unbox it?
They left it sitting like that in front of our garbage can right in the middle of everything in our way. And then they were just like, peace. So thinking about you and your fridge woes, I was like, you know what? I'm going to call and make sure that we're good. So I called and someone to look at our order and they're like, oh man, looks like they didn't put installation on it. You didn't pay for installation. I was like, but I paid for you guys to take away the old one and only the installers do that. Yep. So if I don't get installation, who's coming to get the old one? Oh man, it's a good question. It's the one I'm asking. Because I said I wanted a dishwasher installed. And I even got the hookups and had the old one hauled away after installation. And as I've been told by two or three different people now, because 2 people delivered it, literally only the installers will haul away the old one. It is quite interesting. That's quite interesting. But it's not on here and you didn't pay for it. Hold on a second. Let me give you a call right back.
No, that's a trap.
An hour later, they didn't call back. So I called again and got a different person who looked into it. And I was like, yeah, I was supposed to get a call back over an hour ago and no one ever called back. And they said, oh, okay, let me get over there 1 second. And they went over. And thankfully, it didn't go much further than that. They were like, all right, this looks like it's a mistake on our end. They definitely should have had installation put on here if they had you go through all this, blah, 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 blah. We're going to make this right. We'll do the installation for free. So the installers will give you a call within the next 24 hours. It's like, 24 hours. All right, yeah, that's fine. So I got a call later that day, actually. I was expecting the next day. I got a call later that day from an automated voice thing that was like, your installation is scheduled for Friday between 7:30 a.m. and 9:30 a.m. If this is okay, press 1 if you'd like to change. I didn't even want them to deliver it before 9 o'clock was too early. 7:30 a.m. Change. If you'd like to change, then you will have to delay at least 7 full business days from your initial installation date.
Neat.
So guess who today was up at 7:30 a.m. for an installation?
I can't imagine what it must be like to wake up that early.
It sucked because I was up till 4 a.m.
And whose choice was that?
Up till 4? I can't imagine anything in your life that would keep you up to 4 whether you wanted to or not.
Very challenging. Not having a baby or real responsibilities made it to where I had no choice. But we have a new dishwasher that has sort of been run and tested and might work. Stay tuned for the update.
It hasn't even exploded or anything?
I'm pretty sure they're supposed to do that when they install it before they leave.
He made sure water went into it, and then he stopped it from running and left.
It sounds like he tested it.
If water went into it and it didn't come out outside of it, it's probably fine.
Look, if a story doesn't have at least 3 bushes murdered brutally in cold blood, I don't want to hear it.
However, he did leave broken glass on my floor and all of the garbage because he said, yeah, this styrofoam's a real bitch to transport my van. You got this, right? And I was like, I would rather you take it. He's like, you got this, right? And then he left it, so.
He did the old finger guns.
Yeah, I prefer not to. He's like, oh, I can take it to your garbage for you. And I was like, that's not what I meant.
Hey, I forgot to flush when I shat in your toilet. You got this, right? All right, cool.
He left broken glass on the floor. He was like, I don't know where this came from. Must have been under the old one. It's like, why would there be broken glass under the old one?
Well, so if it was your broken glass, it's really not his responsibility.
I don't know if it was. He could have planted it.
He planted the glass. He pulled it out of his pockets, bloody hands, and all went.
From the very start of this, I have to say, I feel like none of us should shop at Lowe's ever again.
They don't even have one team now. It's them, their delivery team, and their installation team. It's not even delivery. They've compartmentalized their compartmentalized compartments.
They heard all the shit that we talked, and they were like, let them shop here, but give them even worse service somehow.
By the way, this episode of Distractible is sponsored by
If you need screwdrivers, drills, anything that's not home appliances, Lowe's is fine.
It is. But I don't. How in the world they let me schedule the removal when only the installation team can do it?
So, did it ever cross your mind to think like, feel like I know something about this exact store that might affect whether I should buy?
I literally did it because, one, I have a better relationship with some employees there, unfortunately, that weren't working there, than I do at other competitors. But two, I had to know. I had to follow in your footsteps and see if I could have a similar experience. I had to know if it was a one-off or if it was truly repeatable. And it was only slightly repeatable.
I mean, by any normal standards, that's a pretty messed up story because they really jerked you around. And, you know, if you were a normal person delivering on a Friday between 7:30 and 9, you probably have work, you know, on a Friday morning. I don't know.
And you probably would have had to take off already the first day that you told them to deliver and install.
I don't know if people are taking off work so they can get a dishwasher installed, but that sounds like a real waste of time to me.
It's shocking to me that we went through all of those steps, went through all these things on the checklist.
Mark, when are you going to buy something big from Lowe's? Do you need a chest freezer in your garage, Mark? Lowe's has great chest freezers, I'm sure.
Get a washer and dryer.
It's a strange, I have 2 delivery anecdotes that only can supplement to this. I once ordered a hard drive, and I got a mini fridge, which was a very strange occurrence.
How much could you store in that?
Was it also a hard drive, or was it just a mini fridge?
Inconveniently it was not. It wasn't even like a gamer mini fridge.
How many terabytes could your mini fridge hold?
None. Well, actually, many. If I put hard drives into it, it could a lot. Yeah. But the weird thing was that the delivery driver was very surprised to see me, and that doesn't usually happen. When you see a delivery man, and I'm like, "Oh, thanks. What do you got for me today?" They don't usually go, "Ugh." Which is what he did. And it was like, "Ugh."
Did you disgust him? Did he recognize you or something else or all 3?
I don't think he recognized me because I've had that before, and that's fine. Usually pretty cool. I don't know. I got a sneaking suspicion, like, did he steal my hard drive and try to pass off a mini fridge?
He's like, I have this extra fridge at home, but I really need a hard drive. I'll make a swap, and they'll never know.
Did the mini fridge come in a box, or was it wrapped in a trash bag?
It was full box, like as like a hard drive box is this big. It usually comes in a little envelope, but it was just like,
how big of a hard drive did you order, Mr. Mark E. Plier? Here you go.
I don't even know how that got mixed up at the factory or the delivery place. Because it's like, usually there's weight consistency.
I went to 3D print a hard drive and I fat fingered and I hit the fridge button.
Hit the fridge button. Yeah.
It's right next to it.
Hard drive, fridge, they're right next to each other. It's easier than you'd think.
But my other appointment anecdote is like, it's so freaking hard to get a doctor's appointment these days. I'm sure everyone understands that. Especially for getting such a sinful prescription as an ADHD medication. And it's especially sinful when you've got something new like a Staris and you're trying to get it and they're like, I've never written a prescription of those words before. And I'm sure it must be hell for doctors with all these new medications coming out with all their bizarre names and whatnot. But it was like everywhere I called was like, we can't do a new patient. Not even like it'll take a while. They were just like, absolutely not. One of you ADHD person. Absolutely. And it was even to the point where I was like, I'll pay like extra, I think, if I can just get it. There's kind of like a time limit on how many pills I got, and usually with medications it's not good to suddenly not have it. So can you help me? No, never. Not for you. Not ever.
I like to think it was like, what was the Dr. Claw from Inspector Gadget was the one who was like answering the phone for you. You'll never get it, Gadget. That was a terrible Claw.
Thankfully, someone very nice actually did like a office visit while I was on set. It was actually very lovely. So they came straight to me, and it was well taken care of. And I had no bushes destroyed, and nothing exploded. He did not leave glass behind him, and like my life was only better for the experience.
Funny, your small talk sparked a thing that I realized I haven't talked about, and it's related to our own podcast too. So you remember we did that episode on self-actualization where we talked a lot, and Mark, you specifically talked a lot about ADHD and dealing with that, and people seem to connect to that a lot on the subreddit and stuff. Also, people from hearing what I talked about, a bunch of people online were like, Bob, I'm pretty sure you also might have ADHD, maybe. I did get checked out. Ooh. And a quick summary of the doctor's visit, as I did all the pre-tests and stuff. And then when I actually saw the doctor, they were basically like, oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I got diagnosed, and I started my medicine today. And it's going to take like almost a month for it to really like saturate my system or whatever.
Have you noticed a change?
No. I'm not doing stimulants. So I'm doing the other, it's like an antidepressant, I think, is actually what the medicine originally was, but it's also prescribed for ADHD now. I just started today, and in a couple weeks, I should start to see how it affects me and what the difference is. But so I actually am, as a result of that episode, I got checked out and am like getting treatment now, and we'll see how that impacts me. If it helps, it's going to be dramatically different, because having a hell of a time with the baby, remembering stuff and not feeling like I'm scatterbrained. So yeah,
that's
what
awesome.
a positive outcome.
I've heard stories about, I think there was like a news reporter, someone, I should look this up rather than just talk out of my ass, but there was like a news reporter or someone who was like doing a story, and there was like something on their face that like the audience noticed, and like a doctor or something called in and was like, hey, I think you have like a cancer or something, you should go get this checked out. And they went, and it turns out that they did, but they caught it early, and they just noticed like from a blemish or something on this person's face. You guys could save our lives.
Is Mark frozen or?
Oh, his power.
His power.
I thought he was
dipped.
really deep in pondering.
Hello.
Yeah, how's it going,
Welcome
man?
back.
I was afraid your power went out completely.
It did for a second. There are storms, but it seems to be back. I might dip again. But then my computer was like, oh, no, we're going to update. Perfect.
Excellent.
We thought I was talking and you just had this expression. So for like a good minute, I kept talking, thinking you were just really not interested in what I was saying.
Yeah, before we both noticed your text, it was just stuck like that, and we were like, Mark?
I was like, dude, I'm done. You can talk now.
Mark?
Yeah, the last thing I remember saying was like, that's great, Bob. I'm so proud of you. Boom, all the power went out.
We talked for a couple minutes about other stuff.
I told like a story,
Yeah, no,
and I was
I was-
like, man, Mark looks interested. And I was like, no, he's not. He doesn't care at all.
Anyway, great outcome. That episode was fun to film, and then hopefully, if this medicine works, I will have a whole other. I'll have a whole other life. I'll be like a new man
Like Bob Nokio.
who doesn't just forget everything the moment it goes into my ears and out the other side.
That still happens.
Yeah.
That'll still
No,
happen.
I know
Yeah,
it's
that
not.
don't go
Yeah,
away.
it's not going to be that dramatic, but I do hope that it helps me feel less. So lately I've been so tired with the baby. Right, the baby is a lot. I feel every time I like walk into a new room, I have that feeling of like I just woke up and I don't know what's going on. But it's constant. I'll walk from one room to the next and be like, why am I in here? What's happening? And then I'll just be like, never mind, and walk into the next room. Same shit. It's like constant. I'm hoping it helps.
I just
with
got
that.
3 texts from Mark. It looks like he was having computer issues.
Yeah, that was me. My computer's saying to update.
I just got the text, and I was very confused. I was like, oh god, he's gone again, but he's moving this time.
I'm here. I'm always here. This is where I just get the soundboard and me just like,
The ship of Theseus.
yeah, if I just did that and then put a few rhymes in here, you'd never know I wasn't here. You'd never know.
Good small talk. We skipped a week, so we had a lot saved up there. But good small talk, guys. Should we move on to the topic of the episode?
Oh, I guess if we have
It's
to.
a fun one. It's something we all talk about a lot in our own individual contexts and together, and people make fun of us for.
Dicks?
I don't talk about dicks a lot. I got to be honest.
Yeah, me either.
Well, I mean, we did have a whole podcast about that before this.
Yeah. Oh,
podcast.
that podcast we did with Jock, with Jock, our friend Jock Septiceye.
Well, 3 peens was technically involved peens. I mean, that's kind of dicky.
I never saw that as a penis related at all. I thought that was that changes how I feel about that completely.
It's like vegetables is what that was about.
Like I thought, yeah, I just
I had
love
schlong on the mind every time, but all right. Anyway, go on with your topic.
Today's topic is Ohio and why we're
love
allowed to
Ohio.
make fun of it for being a hellscape and a shithole, but you're probably not. Unless you're from Ohio, because that's the rules, right? Everybody, isn't that the established rule is people from Ohio are always like, yeah, Cleveland, the river lights on fire and whatever, all this stuff. It's a total hellscape. But if someone who's not from Ohio tries to talk shit about our state, that's not cool.
They need to check themselves before we wreck them.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah.
today we're going to talk about all the stuff in Ohio. I'm not going to say that's good, but it's mostly good. But all the stuff in Ohio that is. I have a list, and it's not, I mean, I made it. I compiled it from sources, but it's not like comprehensive. It's like between 30 and 40 things that I would consider to be Ohio things. Things that are
Okay.
quintessentially Ohio-y. From Ohio, about Ohio, all kinds of stuff. And I want you guys to basically take turns trying to guess all the things that are on my list. I will give you a point for every thing that's on my list that you successfully guess, but I will also give you points if you come up with something I don't have on my list, and you can convince me that it is something quintessentially Ohioan. because there's probably stuff I'm missing. There's probably stuff that's a little bit more regional that maybe I'm not aware of, that maybe you guys are, because I grew up in Columbus. You guys grew up in the Cincinnati area. There's probably something, I don't know. But anyway, Ohio stuff. And we'll take turns because there's a lot of low-hanging fruit here. So I don't want one person to just like blurt out a whole bunch of shit all at once. Does anyone want to volunteer to go first or to not go first? Do you guys care what the order
Doesn't
is?
matter. I'm happy to go first, but if Mark, you want to go?
Me, I'll go first.
All right. Mark, give me something that is Ohio.
Skyline.
Boom. Point for Mark.
Yes. Yes. It's the only city with a skyline. None of the others touch the sky.
I should probably track these. Hang on.
That's a good one, Mark. Fun fact, Skyline and my family are probably the two main reasons I haven't left Ohio. I don't want to leave Skyline chili behind. I love Skyline chili.
Are they equal?
Yeah. Which one of those two things do you like more, Skyline or your family?
Do I have to be honest?
Yes, always on this podcast, of course.
Skyline might mean slightly more to me.
Wow.
That's kind of messed up.
Because I can always come back and see my family, but I crave Skyline every week.
I've thought about opening a Skyline franchise in LA just so I could eat at it.
That's a bold step.
You should.
And I mean, like, I feel like I could do it and, like, I'd promote it on my channel and I'd show up there and be like, hey, it's my Skyline. Eat here so it can stay in business, please.
From what I know, there's one Skyline chili in Orlando, Florida now.
What?
Wow.
It opened near the Disney Resort because somebody here went down there and wanted to open a franchise.
Yeah, you can. You just pay. It's like any other franchise, right? It's just like whether or not people will eat. I would not, and what any Ohioan would not, but what others might considered watered down chili, which is not what it is.
No, it's correct chili. It's not watered down just because it's not the chili.
It's just not Texas style chili. It's Cincinnati style. It's just a different style of chili.
Exactly. It's a different type of chili. It's perfectly acceptable.
It's Greek in origin, I believe, actually.
You know what I was stunned by with Skyline? Is how much protein is in Skyline meals.
Really?
Like, you would think that being mostly spaghetti, it wouldn't have. But if you get a regular, it's like around 45 to 55 grams of protein.
Really?
What about like a coney with the hot dog? I don't even have a bun, but like...
Same deal. It's like a very even split of carbs, protein.
That's a very protein dense chili.
Yeah, it is. It was shocking. And I think it's like probably either protein enriched pasta or something like that. There's a lot of protein in it.
A couple of my in-laws came to stay with us recently, and we took them there. They'd never had it before, and they'd heard about there being cinnamon in the chili. And as they ate it, they were just like, "I feel the cinnamon. I can't get over the fact that there is cinnamon in this," which is weird to me. I don't know why cinnamon is such like an interest. Like, why is that such a stopper? I'm sure there's all kinds of weird things and like food people just never know about. But the fact that there's like rumored to be, it might be, I don't know, chocolate and cinnamon and Skyline
It's chocolate
chili.
and Gold Star, right? I thought that was a thing.
Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Which I like both, actually. Maybe I'm a sinner, but I like both Skyline and Gold Star. I like Gold Star's chili cheese fries more.
I don't dislike Gold Star. Their fries are good. Their fries are
Their
good.
fries, the crinkle fries are superior to Skyline's shoestring fries because they stay crisp longer. But
Mark, you should start West Coast Skyline.
you should, please.
I feel like if
Spread
there's a thing I've learned about Ohioans, it's that people who are from Ohio are just desperate to get the absolute hell out of there. And I've lived in North Carolina and now we live in Northern California. There's a lot of Ohio people in both of the places that we've lived, and they're not close to Ohio or connected to Ohio in any meaningful way.
Well, everyone is Ohio. Always have been.
There's just a lot of people from Ohio who were like, oh, I got out of that shithole. Thank God, I live here now. But like Ohio State stickers, bumper stickers and stuff were like common when we lived in North Carolina. It was a big Ohio State fan population.
It's just weird about Ohio is like, there are a lot of people, which is strange because it's like just one of those Midwest, even though it's not even near the Midwest states, but there's 12 million people that live in, roughly 12 million people that live in Ohio. And for comparison, California has 40 million, and that's a lot, but Ohio still has 12, which is a meaningful percentage of that. It's just like, it's the 7th most populous state in the country.
Yeah, well, so Ohio has 12 million compared to California with 40 million. How many major cities does California have? I mean, the big ones, San Diego, LA, San Francisco, but then also you've got like Sacramento. Oh God, the one in Central Valley,
Ferguson?
No, Femflis, What the hell? Fresno.
Right, Fresno.
You guys ever been to Femfless, California?
Like, California has, I don't know, maybe upwards of 10 cities that would be like pretty big cities compared to Ohio having 3 and Dayton and Toledo.
And Orange County, is that a city?
It's a county.
Orange County City, my favorite city. County.
Why is a county so? Well, anyway, we're talking about Ohio today.
Orange
Screw
County
that.
is like the county surrounding LA, right? So if you live in LA, that's like the city, but if you live in Orange County, that's like a much bigger area that's still incredibly dense, right?
I grew up a Hamilton County, Claremont County boy in my schoolboy days. The real state, Ohio.
No one knows what you're talking about until we inform them of it.
What do you mean? If Orange County's famous, can't Hamilton be?
It's agreed. Mark's gonna open a skyline somewhere, and that'll be fun. And then,
What?
and wait, it's your turn.
If he does, I award him a win. He can have one of my wins if he does this.
Name some Ohio. Well, an Ohio thing. Start with one Ohio thing.
Okay, I'm gonna name 2, but I think they're 1. I don't know if there'll be 2 on your list. Cedar Point, and by extension, Kings Island. I think Cedar Point's the more well-known. It's the theme park, tons of roller coasters, well-known roller coasters. And whenever I mention Ohio to people that aren't Ohio people, they're like, oh yeah, you guys have Cedar Point. That's one of the first things people name. They've heard of Skyline Chili and they know about Cedar Point.
I did have those as separate, but I think that's one.
Cedar Point bought Kings Island, so I feel like, yeah.
I mean, they're not like super tightly related because Upper Sandusky, where Cedar Point is way the hell north, and Kings Island's in Cincinnati, but amusement parks, because they're pretty good amusement parks, considering that they're not like somewhere like, like California or somewhere with a big dense population. Cedar Point is a very good like roller coaster amusement park, and Kings Island is a very good like park. The Midway is really good. That has a lot of really, like, they're good amusement parks.
I think Kings Island has 14 to 16 roller coasters right now.
That is a lot. That's more than I would guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, last time I was over there was even another, I don't even know the name of it. There's one that's even bigger than Diamondback, it looks like. And Diamondback was huge.
That's definitely an Ohio thing, to be known for the amusement parks. That's a point. Good one. Mark.
I've got something that confused the hell out of me for way too long as an Ohio resident, and that's Buckeyes.
Okay.
I didn't know what the fuck a Buckeye was because I'd never seen like the seed, the actual like, or whatever. Is it a nut?
It's a nut, but it's like poisonous or something. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I don't know. And then, but all I knew was that it was a candy because there's also the chocolate and peanut butter Buckeyes, and those were delicious. And I was like, that's great. And then people kept telling me like it grows on a tree, and I was like, there's no way, that's impossible. There's a chocolate tree where?
I've got a weird story about Buckeyes. Like, well, it's not that weird, but it's an interesting one. Our family reunions, like for my dad's side of the family, always took place in Indiana, and this family reunion place in Indiana was like all Buckeye trees. So I learned about Buckeyes from going to Indiana family reunions where there were Buckeye trees, and my cousin, my brother, and I would run around and collect them. And Buckeyes start off like the tree drops and it's like a spiky little shell that they drop in. And if you found like a pristine shell, we would just like toss it.
That's what they come in?
Yeah.
Like a weird spiky little shell. And if you pry it open, there's a smooth Buckeye inside.
No.
And we would have Buckeye candies, and there were Buckeyes we would collect. We would have just like plastic bags of Buckeyes as kids we'd run around with. Some in the spiky shells, some that were just the smooth Buckeyes. But I learned all about Buckeyes at a very young age, but not when I was in Ohio.
You're kidding me. You're telling me those spiky seeds, which I had almost forgotten about, are Buckeyes?
Yeah, like Google, was it Buckeye seed, Buckeye shell, seed pod, Buckeye seed pod? This one doesn't look very spiky. This one looks more like a cantaloupe, but there were some like spikier ones too.
Okay, that was different. I was thinking the other seed that is like more like a flail on a little stick. I'm thinking of a different type of thing that was more ubiquitous. I was like
this. I found one here. There's a weird, wonderful Buckeye seed pod that looks like a deep sea anglerfish. It's spiky and it's got like a little dangly thing at the end, but it's very spiky.
I hated this one that had like weird holes in it, and it's a sweet gum tree, apparently, is the other one that I'm thinking about. It's a slightly different one. So
there are some smooth looking Buckeye seeds, but the ones I remember were prickly ones that we had.
I was about to yield a point to Wade for blowing my mind, but it's not quite as blown as I thought it was.
Well, you did end up saying those words out loud anyway.
Wade also yields all of his points to me.
Well, I will say, Mark, in your answer and the way you delivered it, I wasn't able to cut you off, so you did actually earn 2 points there, because you mentioned both Buckeyes and Buckeye candy more specifically.
Take that, Wade. You got 2 roller coaster parks. You only got 1 point. I got 2. I found the double.
But
the daily double.
You did cede a point to Wade for blowing your mind, which I am going to count.
No, I said almost. I said almost.
It seems blown.
I said almost.
I appreciate your generosity, Mark.
I said almost. I also said he yielded all his points to me.
No, I stopped listening to you guys. I was already typing point stuff. Sorry. That would have counted if I had been listening. But I will say, for anyone listening, the Buckeye tree is weird, and the nuts are weird and poisonous, as far as I know, and whatever. The Buckeye candy, I don't dislike Buckeye candy. It's delicious. But tell me if I'm off base here. How is a Buckeye candy meaningfully different from a Reese's peanut butter cup? I understand that the filling is not exactly the same, that the Reese's are more manufactured. But a Buckeye candy is essentially peanut butter mixed with powdered sugar to make the inside and then dipped in milk chocolate. It's a peanut butter cup, right?
I guess. I could not tell you because I've never made them. I think the way it's made, or at least the chocolate always tastes different. But then again, I'm sure Reese's has their own chocolate recipe, so they always taste different. But
it would be like if you homemade a peanut butter cup, because Buckeyes usually are made with nicer chocolate and are tasty. And they're not as like waxy as the chocolate is in like manufactured peanut butter cups. But like, there's not a difference, right?
To me, it was a less delicious peanut butter cup. So I didn't eat a whole lot of Buckeyes growing up.
Less delicious?
I liked Reese cups more.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Well, that might cost you a point right there, but
I haven't had a Buckeye in so long, I wouldn't even know how to compare it.
Okay, well, and I'm sure there's a bunch of Ohioans already in the comments or on the subreddit or something, and we're like, no, it's different. It's basically a peanut butter cup for anyone who's never had one, and they're very good. Good points, everybody. Wade!
The NFL Hall of Fame, Canton, Ohio.
Yes, good one. What a weird place.
It is. It's a I don't know why. There's no football there, but there is the Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio.
Canton, Ohio, in effectively the middle of nowhere.
So Cleveland's football team was established before Cincinnati's team, and Cleveland's team left. I think they went to Baltimore after Baltimore went to,
I believe that's right,
Indianapolis. And then Cleveland reformed a team, I think, like in the 90s. But Cleveland's owner, Paul Brown, was actually the one who came down and formed Cincinnati's team, the Bengals. And I have no idea if he has anything to do with why Canton, Ohio. I don't know why the NFL Hall of Fame is here, but it is. I think we have all of one player in it. I'm sure the Browns probably have a few.
In our lifetimes, until the last couple seasons, Ohio is a bastion of mediocre football at best in terms of professional stuff.
It's not been good. It's been a hard place to be a football fan, but
not for the last couple of years.
No, yeah, for the last couple of years,
still some heartache in the last couple of years, but better.
Hey, getting all the way to the Super Bowl is pretty fun, even if you lose, compared to being, say, I don't know, a Lions fan.
They've been there 3 times ever, the Bengals have. I'll take it.
But yeah, no, why are all the best football players in American football history forced to go to Canton, Ohio to get their gold jacket when they're inducted in the Hall of Fame? Who could tell you? I'm sure there's a reason, but we don't know. And I'm not going to Google it. I'm just going to give Wade a point and offer Mark the next opportunity to give me some more Ohio stuff.
I bet this one isn't on your list, but I'm willing to like make an argument for it.
Not on the list is bonus points.
Jerry Springer, former mayor of Cincinnati, Jerry Springer.
Jerry Springer is indeed on my list because he is a Cincinnati man, former mayor of Cincinnati, like you were saying. And indeed, I associate Jerry Springer with Ohio, despite the fact that the Springer show turned into the icon of people shouting at each other over pregnancy tests. He actually, did you know, early on in the years of the Jerry Springer show, he tried to make it more of like a hard-hitting talk show. He addressed like serious social issues in a much more like respectful way and had serious like experts on. But then the producers realized that the ratings were way better the more dramatic the show was. And so it was, steered slowly away from really serious talk show about serious issues toward the reality show that people are familiar with the Jerry Springer show.
I didn't know that, but that does make sense. That usually is how it goes.
Because that makes a lot of sense, because he was the mayor of Cincinnati. He was kind of a serious political figure. He was kind of an Ohio guy, and then the show is mostly known for the ridiculous era.
I mean, in our lifetimes, I don't know him as the mayor. I know him as the Jerry Springer show guy. Everyone here knows of him as being the mayor. It's just like It's hard for me to connect it because I was so young that it's like, I don't even know if he was the mayor in our lifetimes. I don't know when he was the mayor, but I'd like, in my memory, it's the Jerry Springer show. Oh yeah, that guy who watches fights on his show used to run our city. Interesting.
The world has Ohio to thank for the legacy of the Jerry Springer show. You're welcome.
Jerry.
Mayor from 1977 to 1978. So not a long time.
That was before our time though, so I feel better about not remembering it.
Good one, Mark.
There you go.
Wait.
I think this one might be a contentious one, but the birthplace of aviation. The Wright brothers.
That's third on my list because I love that one.
I think they were born in like one of the Carolinas or something, but the actual first like flight test or whatever took place in Dayton, so that both, I think, states try to claim it.
I think it's the inverse of what you're saying. North Carolina's license plates say first in flight because the first actual flights of the Wright brothers aircraft took place in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. But the Wright brothers are from Dayton, Ohio.
Yeah, that's where they designed the first plane.
Ohio license plates say the birthplace of aviation.
But they designed it in Dayton. They just must have flown it there.
Yeah, they lived and worked in Ohio, but then they went down to North Carolina because of, I'm not sure why, but there was some reason, money or facilities or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it was something like they wanted some unregulated backwater wasteland to test their plane.
They were looking for a hillbilly hellscape to do whatever they wanted to, and they were like, North Carolina.
It was something about ideal wind conditions or some shit like that. And then they did their first like mud skipper hop in North Carolina, and then they went back to Dayton and did the real flight. But yeah, okay, North Carolina can claim.
Yeah, so that is a contentious thing because North Carolina's their default plate says first in flight, and they claim that very, very much.
For me, it's like, all right, North Carolina, whatever you say, you can have. They did that, yeah. But it's like, cause me as a kid, my dad always took me up to I forget what the name is.
Wright-Patterson, the Air Force Base.
Yeah, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base,
and the fantastic show that they have, the air show they have at Wright-Pat every year. Super fun show.
Yeah. So I like read up a lot about aviation history, I think, when I was there. I don't remember. I know that I learned, I don't know what I learned, but I learned something.
Airplane stuff, aviation.
Yeah, airplane stuff. Was Wright-Patterson on the list?
You know what? Yes. One of the last things that I put on my list right before the Football Hall of Fame was the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Mark, wait, you know what? Technically, though, it's on there for a different reason. Do you know why Wright-Pat is nationally significant?
I have no idea.
It might be related to how and why you learned so much while you were there. A place where you might learn about the history of something.
One of us speaks in riddles, the other in rhymes.
Is it a museum?
The National Museum of the Air Force is located at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio.
That's probably where I learned all my things that I definitely remember.
I'm going to give Mark half a point.
Hey, you give him as much as you want. I just want you guys to be happy talking about Ohio with me.
I was waiting for. I'm gonna give Wade that point.
All right, I'm gonna give Wade another point.
No!
You said you were giving him what you had. I'm giving Wade the half a point to Wade and half a point to Mark. Okay, out of fairness. One half to Mark, one half to Wade for Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. There you go.
Fair is fair.
Okay.
Somehow.
So it's Mark's turn to talk about Ohio stuff.
I don't even know if this is like something Ohio is known for. How Dayton is apparently, the more I've learned about Dayton, the more I learn about these horrible, horrible things that occur from Dayton. And it was like #1 in human trafficking at some point. And I was like, Dayton?
Oh, Ohio.
Literally. No, this is what I associate with Ohio sometimes. It's like, Dayton? How? And I would just like think about that, and I would be like, it blew my mind about like, and I don't know if it was just Cincinnati shitting on Dayton,
I was gonna say,
or if Dayton actually was the hub of this stuff. But
what a fucked up way.
Dayton is like the unliked step sibling of Cincinnati, like two Cincinnatians.
No, that's
So
yeah, that's
I
what
don't know
Dayton
what's
is to
true,
me
what's
too.
just like us shit talking Dayton. But maybe that's true.
But I think that's what Ohio's known for. Shit talking Dayton.
People in Cincinnati
That's what it
just
is.
sit
That's my
around
answer.
and are just like, what sort of rumor should we start about Dayton?
Well, do we talk more shit about Dayton or Cleveland being in Cincinnati?
Cincinnati, I would say statewide, Cleveland is the city that gets dunked on. If you're in Cincinnati specifically, Dayton is the city that gets dunked on.
Unless you're a football fan. I don't know. There's a lot of shit talking about Cleveland if you're a football person. But in general, maybe it is Dayton.
Until the last like 2 or 3 years, I find it hilarious that anyone from Cincinnati would be like, the Bengals are last in their division perennially, but at least we're not the Browns, right? Right, guys?
I think we've been better than the Browns, even like at our worst most of the time.
Yeah, but that's a pretty low bar. That's like saying that you're better than the Lions.
It is a low bar, but it's the one that we had, which is why we shit on Cleveland. Because we're like, we suck, but at least we're not Cleveland. Like, that was my life as a football fan.
Because your actual rival you can't talk shit about because the Steelers used to always just trounce the Bengals no matter what happened.
Yes. Forever they have until like the last 3 years, which is too short of a time span to really judge.
No, you know what, Mark? I'm gonna. That was not on my list, but I'm definitely gonna give you a point. Talking shit about Dayton as especially in the Cincinnati area is definitely a thing because people in Ohio are like, oh well, we have 3 cities, right? The big C's: Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati. Those are the cities. They're not big cities. I hate to break it to everyone who thinks those are big cities. They're tiny cities compared to actual big cities in the US and around the world. But everyone's like, but Dayton thinks they're a city like us. Dayton.
Yeah.
Or Toledo, right? Like Toledo's kind of like a steel town. Like it's a city, but people kind of make fun of Toledo. Also, Toledo University's mascot is a silver penis, but we don't have to talk about that.
What? Hold on.
The Toledo Rockets mascot, it's a chrome dildo.
Oh, there it is. I found an old image.
Oh, there it is.
The history of Rocky and Roxy. It's a smiling, happy, chrome-tipped.
I forget that Toledo exists. I forget that Toledo's in Ohio.
That's an Ohio thing.
Forgetting Toledo. Yeah, all right. Okay.
I mean, everyone, do we agree on that? Are we having a weighted point for that? Is that Wade's
I don't know. I just want to make the joke.
Wait, no, it can't. How is it every single
Mark thought it was funny. I think he thinks it's true. No, I don't know if forgetting Toledo exists counts. That's definitely not on my list. You don't have to go with that one, Wade. It's your turn next. You can pick anything else you want if you don't want to run with that.
If I may be so bold, hot dogs were invented here.
Really?
True. Is that true?
Hot dogs, oatmeal, and Thomas Edison were all Ohio things.
Man, you should have saved up.
Well, we're running low on time, so I just figured I'd splurge some of my knowledge. I'm pretty sure oatmeal, like Quaker Oats.
2 German towns vie to be the original birthplace of the modern hot dog: Frankfurt and but the people of Vienna also claim to have invented Wienerwurst. I guess Wienerwurst, but
I wonder if that's why that Ohio's been linked with inventing the hot dog, because we're very German, especially Cincinnati's very German.
Cincinnati is a very German city.
Yeah.
It has, I believe, still true, I believe Cincinnati has the largest Oktoberfest in the United States. Shuts down the entire, 4th Street downtown, the whole length of the city. It's crazy. My band I was in college, we played because they had like music on every cross street. They had tons of stages. It was dope.
And Thomas Edison was born here too. I believe he was born in, I think it's pronounced Milan, but in Ohio it's probably pronounced Milan.
Milan.
That sounds like how we'd pronounce
That's
it here.
definitely how it's pronounced in Ohio. Harry Mosley Stevens, a Niles, Ohio native, first sold what would be called a red hot dachshund sausage. Well, you know what? That makes sense. Red Hots, then. Red Hots were invented in Ohio. So maybe not all hot dogs universally, but Red Hots is like a big thing in a lot of Ohio. They're like bright red, like food coloring red hot dogs. I'll give you that. I like that. That's interesting.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I'm just gonna put hot dogs invented here.
I don't know. I mean, I guess if German towns could claim it, it's like, I don't know where it was invented first, but I know Ohio at least lays claim to it.
Clearly, Germany has a lot of claim to sausages more broadly, because like wursts is kind of very German. But I actually, when I was in college, before I switched, I was in music education, so I was doing like teaching courses and stuff. I taught a part of a class in a German language school in downtown Cincinnati, which I thought was very interesting. Very German. I only took German in high school, so I speak this much German, which is not enough to talk to students in a school where they're teaching them German. But it was fun. Interesting fact, Wade. You got me. Mark. Rebuttal. We're coming to the end, and I will say the points are tight. So I'm gonna increase the amount of points based on how fascinating, important, or other arbitrary criteria that I'm not going to explain or lay out for you, I think your last couple answers are. So if you were sitting on anything that's fantastical or cool or grandiose, the craziest shit you can think of about Ohio, hit me with it, and I'll give you bonus points. I don't know why you look so pressured. Didn't I tell you this was going to happen?
We're all Ohio boys. You know our state, Mark.
It's known for most recently for a train derailment.
God.
Is what I was going to say.
Everyone was very concerned about me and all of Ohio for that, but it's so close to Pittsburgh and Pennsylvania that it actually had very little impact on Cincinnati.
Yeah, it was. I discovered a new town in Ohio. What was it called?
Apparently you didn't discover it very well.
What was the town that it occurred in? East Palestine, Ohio. That was what it was. And so, this was a horrible train derailment that, for some reason, seemingly kept getting swept under the rug and then brought back out because it was another horrifying chemical that was spilling all over the town. And then, the repercussions of it were being seen, and everyone else was just it was just this kind of horror show that was occurring, and it was just as if it was a completely normal thing, and it opened up my eyes to all these different train infrastructure problems that have been occurring for years and years and building up over time, and how it's even though the vast majority of all of our shipments run on rail, they are just poorly maintained.
There's a lot of things like that here. I have to say, I'm pretty sure when we were in high school or elementary school, whatever, throughout school, so many teachers had talked about how the education system in Ohio was deemed unconstitutional by the Ohio Supreme Court or United States Supreme Court or something, and nothing has ever been done to fix it, but they would always just bring it up. Trains and education, I don't know.
It is interesting, isn't it, Mark? Because that train derailment and the way they handled the chemicals, what they decided to do was release the chemicals into the air and ignite them for some reason, and that was the best way to deal with it. So it released this huge plume of very, toxic-looking, not very healthy-looking stuff. It's so crazy, because for a couple weeks there, suddenly there were tons of train derailments in the news. And come to find out, across America, there are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of train derailments every year, because our relatively shitty, poorly maintained rail system and or vehicles that travel on the rails just sort of happens. And it's not always some horrendous chemical that's causing major environmental damage. But it's crazy, isn't it? Suddenly no one's talking about that. Even though the ecological fallout in East Palestine and surrounding areas is almost definitely not over. And, probably drinking water will be issued for an extended period of time and all this stuff. It just kind of just got swept away, isn't it? That's weird how that happened.
Yeah, it's very strange.
I don't know if cover-ups are exclusively an Ohio thing, but it definitely seems like it's tried to occur to some extent.
Well, that's true. But definitely, I would say, if we're talking current events, yeah, I think that's probably one of the things Ohio is most known for right now is big train chemical derailment and fire explosion situation. Well, way to bring up the mood, Mark.
So hence why I didn't want to go into the bonus round with that one, but it was the one I had.
I'm going to give you an extra point for that for being topical and bringing up important issues that literally no major media outlet had any interest in covering for any amount of time, and is mostly, from what I've seen, if you want information about it, it's basically available only on social media from people whose lives it's directly impacting or who are doing on-the-ground journalism. And that's just interesting.
Yeah, and you can still help out the people of East Palestine. I'm sure there are fundraisers that can help the cleanup effort, or more specifically, there should be agencies that are in place and the company responsible taking care of the cleanup effort.
Some sort of environmental protection agency maybe should be doing something more to help, or some sort of liability sort of thing should be placed on maybe the company whose train it was, whose tracks it was to maintain, whose chemicals it was. Yeah, I don't know.
But, it's only the people that are being affected, so...
It's only
not the profits.
Tens of thousands of humans who might be poisoned or have long-term health effects, or who for generations might have to deal with their surrounding ecological systems being irreparably damaged. Who knows?
I mean, even as far down here, they were talking about like the different water companies and stuff were sending out like memos to all of us like, hey, this is how things might be affected. This is how we're treating it. It shouldn't be an issue. As long as the chemicals show below this number, you'll be fine. And we're adding an extra layer of this to try to remove the chemical. So like, even though I'm not that close, I think we're Cincinnati's like 200.
Probably like 3.5, 4 hour drive away, right? Probably pretty.
Yeah, well, yeah, but the roads here aren't like straight lines. I figure more
That's
like
true.
it matters. So I try to figure out, I think we're like 200, Cincinnati as a whole is like 250 miles away from East Palestine. But like the Ohio River runs all the way down to Cincinnati, and people that get their drinking water from the Ohio River obviously are going to be affected by it. So they were like, here, this is what we're going to do. It shouldn't be an issue because it's going to be less than this number and yada, yada, yada. So yeah, they just sent out the whole like, you'll be fine was kind of the memo we all got.
Which we will. That chemical dissipates in a few dozen years.
Yeah.
In a generation or two, it won't be a problem.
Yeah, it almost definitely won't have any lasting effects, probably. Don't hold us to that, though. Anyway, interesting one, Mun?
Interesting one, man.
Interesting one, man.
Is Mun getting points for that?
Yes, Mun got an extra point. Unfortunately, that's neither of you. But you did get 2 points for that, Mark. So good.
Okay,
If
thank
we
you.
really screw this up, Mun gets to host the next one, Mark. We got to be careful.
Yeah, no, Mun's in the race now, so don't let this happen. All right, Wade, what earth-shattering Ohio thing are you going to bring up that's going to blow my face off and earn you so many points?
This one's also not that uplifting, but I'm pretty sure Alcoholics Anonymous was founded in Ohio.
Really?
That is interesting, but certainly more solemn of a thing, I guess.
I believe it was back in like the 20s, 30s, 1920s, 1930s. 2 guys formed like the 12-step program, and it's spread and grown from there.
1935, Akron, Ohio.
Akron! That's the birthplace of LeBron James, the Akron Hammer.
It was, like you're saying, it's the beginning of the International Peer-Led Mutual Aid Fellowship, a meeting in person and now online of abstinence-based recovery based on the 12-step program. Interesting.
My family has some familiarity with AA, so therefore I'm kind of aware of it. So it is great. It's a great. It's not an uplifting subject matter in the fact that talking about alcoholism isn't, but like AA itself is a good thing that exists.
I mean, this is the kind of thing where I'm not well versed on AA, so I don't know anything if there's been any serious like problems with the organization or whatever. But as far as I know, the program is pretty effective. I mean, as far as I know, it's one of the more effective big international programs that in terms of helping people who are alcoholics live with their, their alcoholism. That is a serious topic, but AA, I think, is a good thing in the world. I hope. I'm sure there will be comments where it's like, oh, actually, there were funds that were misappropriated.
From what we know right now, it's had a good reputation, and whenever someone's going through that, you think about them going to AA.
I hope that that's mostly, if not exclusively, a good thing in the world.
I hope so too, because it's what you think about when you think about treatment for someone that's struggling with addiction.
Mm.
And I wonder how related, I mean, there's tons of other programs, like Narcotics Anonymous and other sort of programs to treat other types of addiction. I wonder if Alcoholics Anonymous spawned those or if they're related, but interesting. I'm trying to decide let me quantify with the number of points how good Alcoholics Anonymous is. Hang on.
Be very careful.
I mean, is it really 3 points worth of good, or I don't know.
I couldn't tell you. You're the host.
I'm gonna say that's 2.5 points.
I'll take it.
On a scale of meaningless amounts of points for things. Anyway, yeah. Unless anyone has any burning desires to say anything else, do we want to call it?
I'm just gonna shout a few out. This one probably isn't like the most well known, but it's my favorite ice cream place because I've had a lot of ice cream. And Graders, which is a Cincinnati chain.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love Graders.
United Dairy Farmers I worked at for a while. Yeah.
Their ice cream sucks, and you know it.
They're not as high quality as Graders, but there's a wider variety. And if I wanted a milkshake of like a specific flavor, I would go to UDF. If I want an ice cream like in a cup or something, I could definitely go to Graders.
Yeah, UDF is great for milkshakes and just like quick stuff, but it's like Graders when I crave black raspberry chip all the time. Like just because it's like I've never had another place that gets that kind of ice cream. The fact that Ohio is known for corn, even though soybeans are the number one crop, but Ohio's known for corn.
I think a lot of the Midwest is known for corn, right? Like we're all because that's what you see when you drive through is the corn fields. You know corn when you see it.
It is a lot of corn. It is a lot.
I would say farmland and corn, and specifically is sort of more of a general Midwest.
Do I get to yell some out too? Or does Mark get all of them?
Yeah.
Yell
out.
lightning round this shit.
Amish country. We're known for the Amish. We have a big Amish presence.
That's true. That's true.
That's true.
Neil Armstrong was born here.
A lot of astronauts from Ohio, yeah. A lot of astronauts.
A lot of presidents were born in Ohio. Most presidents I think of were born here.
The fact that the southeast of Ohio, no Ohioans ever been to?
That is actually a scientific fact.
I believe that. You know what? I concede. I'm pretty sure no one's ever been there.
Nothing exists in southeast Ohio. I have that on my list.
Nothing exists.
There
in
is
Southeast
nothing
Ohio.
there.
Bob, you mentioned this, so I didn't shout it out, but one of the most well-known things about Ohio is the football team, Ohio State Buckeyes, or the Ohio State University, because they're nationally relevant pretty much every year. Bengals and Browns, I guess you could argue, too, the football teams. But I would say Ohio State University, with their success, is probably more known, respected than our other football teams.
I'm going to say that technically what I have on my list is that Ohio State University fans are nationally, if not internationally, known for being insufferable a-holes, but I will accept that. Generally, the Ohio State University, it's the Ohio State University. Cool. You sound really cool. You say it like that.
There's the Obelisk of Torment.
The what now?
Ohio is very known for that.
The what?
The one we all pay homage to every 4 years. We make a blood sacrifice to.
Oh, that's what that's called?
Yeah.
Oh.
Mhm. Well, it has many names, and it's known by many, many names over many, many eras.
We have the Mansfield, Ohio haunted place, the reformatory or the whatever it is, asylum.
I'm going to call it that. The reformatory.
Isn't that what it is? It's the Ohio State Reformatory? I think it's called a reformatory. I think it is. I think that's what it's called.
I don't know what it's called, but I'm just going to call it that.
Because there's a few haunted places in Ohio. I know that's one of them. I can't think of the other one.
There's that weird bottomless pit in Sandusky.
Sandusky bottomless pit. Was it man-made, or is it just a thing that opened up?
Well, no one knows, right? They just found it.
LeBron James. I mentioned him earlier, but he's pretty known for being the Akron Hammer, was a nickname given to him by, I think it was Michelle Beadle on one of the sports programs years ago that called him the Akron Hammer. I think she coined it. I could be wrong. And he brought Cleveland, I think, their only NBA championship, or at least the only one in a long time. I don't know that much about NBA, to be honest.
Yeah. The only thing else I can think of is like the Lake of Blood. Well, they call it the Lake of Blood, but it's more like a little pond of blood. Where is that one?
I don't know. I don't know what that is.
One.
I don't know if the Obelisk of Torment, Sandusky Bottomless Pit, and Lake of Blood that Mark are bringing to the table really give Ohio a very positive image, I gotta be honest.
Oh, come on.
Well,
All the rest of
it.
this.
We're bearing the brunt of those.
Train wrecks in the Lake of Blood? You know everything you need to know about Ohio.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, it feels a little bit like we're winding down. Any last second ones?
It's hard to differentiate Ohio for me from Cincinnati things. Like if I say like La Rosa's, but that's a Cincinnati thing. Like Skyline is more Ohio. It's Ohio, but it's Cincinnati. Like, so I'm trying to think of things that aren't just Cincinnati, and that I'm struggling there. So I'll concede at this point because I feel like we've named a pretty good amount.
All right. Do you want to hear a couple that I had that I'm surprised didn't come up?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Hating the state of Michigan is a big Ohio thing.
Oh, yeah.
It
It
is,
never
but
really crosses my mind.
I guess Pittsburgh too, but like I felt it was more of a sports thing.
Hating Pittsburgh, also on the list. A lot of hate in Ohio.
Making fun of Kentucky, is that on there?
Well, Cincinnati is like half Kentucky, so.
I know, but they make a lot of fun of Kentucky a lot. You're in Cincinnati, they'll think, oh, we're not in Kentucky. Like, that's a thing.
Wendy's is a very Ohio thing.
From Ohio?
The Wendy's headquarters is in Columbus. As actually, Wendy's originates from Ohio.
Oh, God, Kroger owns every grocery store.
Is a very...
Euchre, is Euchre on your list at all? The card game Euchre.
No,
I don't know if that's
is
an
that Ohio?
thing. I don't know the answer to that, but I remember mentioning it to someone. They were like, I've never heard of that. That must be like a Midwest thing. I don't know the origins of Euchre, but like very few people outside of here have ever like known what I'm talking about when I mention it.
I feel like Euchre is Midwest because I definitely...
but I don't know where the origin is.
Oh, also Ohio is the home of B-Dubs, Buffalo Wild Wings, and WEC.
Hey!
First B-Dubs opened in Columbus, and Ohio is the home of that. The OHIO chant that Ohio people do all of it. That goes along with being Buckeyes fans and whatever.
That's what I pieced those two together. Ohio.
And the only other thing I had that you guys didn't really touch on is Cardinals are a very Ohio image, except none of the like school mascots or anything of the bigger universities and the sports teams and stuff are Cardinals in Ohio. But that's the state bird.
It is the state bird. I didn't realize it was that big of a deal.
And the red cardinal is like a very Ohio iconic sort of image sort of thing. But also, it's not very tightly related to a lot of Ohio stuff. So I don't know why.
The Ohio flag's kind of unique.
I do think Ohio has one of the cooler state flags. I'm not a big flag nerd, but it's not a rectangle. It's a sort of an angle in, and then it's got a cutout thing. It's pretty cool. Anyway, Ohio sucks. But we're the only ones who are allowed to say that, okay?
Me more than anyone else, because I've never left it.
We lived with Ohio's problems, and we know the reality of it.
Still do. Still here.
And we all got out because we're smart people, you know?
No, this has been a great episode talking about Ohio. I was so happy as you gave Mark points because I want you two to be happy and come back to me, please.
Yeah, we all realized that there are much better places to live, and
I love Ohio, man.
I do miss Ohio. I feel like I liked growing up in Ohio. I have mixed feelings about some of it, but there's lots of cool stuff about Ohio. It's a cool place.
Yes, it's definitely stuff. No, I've still got family there.
They're okay. Anyway, if we're looking at the points total, it was very tight coming into the end of the turn-based rounds. Wade ended up ahead by half a point thanks to Alcoholics Anonymous. But then if you look at the lightning round, you guys were very close. But Wade actually came up with 2 more lightning round answers than Mark did. And while some of them were collaborative and some of Mark's were more interesting, Wade included the state of presidents, which is kind of a big Ohio thing. Wade got Ohio State University, which is a big thing that a lot of people dislike about Ohio. The LeBron James, very famous. I think Wade...
LeBron James.
Just nosed it out in the lightning round points to maintain his half a point lead. And because he lives there, Wade is the king of the Ohio episode.
He's the king of Ohio.
The king of meat and the king of Ohio. Coincidence? I think so.
As a successful podcast on the national scene, we have enough authority to override the entire government of Ohio and install Wade as king of Ohio. And that's what we're doing.
O-H!
Nope.
All right. Well, I tried.
Never in my life will I ever do that.
I'm a UC guy, so I feel it felt dirty doing that. I've
had people do that. When we lived in North Carolina, we still had Ohio license plates. And so I have had that experience where you're like at the gas station and across the way, someone's like, OH! And I'm just like,
I wonder if people find Alabama's Roll Tide more annoying or the OH thing more annoying. If you're like not a fan of either of those teams, which one's more annoying, Roll Tide or OHIO?
At least Roll Tide's shorter. OHIO gets multiple groups involved. There's a call and a response. And if you do it once, it's a good chance it might happen again. Because the first time, it's always like, OHIO, and then they're like, OHIO, and it's like, no.
Who cares about all that sports stuff anyway?
Don't you host a sports podcast?
Well, Mark, you're today's loser. What do you think about that then?
I'm just so glad that me and Bob, 2 California residents, have the authority to supersede the entire government of Ohio. I think everyone in Ohio will be very happy about that.
Honestly, maybe.
Any repercussions from this action shall be heaped upon the king of Ohio that we have declared. He is the one there. His address will be written in a text scroll right here below. And so you can find him there with all of your objections. But we saith though.
We saith though.
We saith though.
Mark, we got you. Don't you like how we make fun of that when you do that?
Ohio, home of the lisp.
Anyway, Wade, winner speech?
Please come back. I miss you guys.
No, okay, I'm shutting that down right now. Wade's the winner. That's the end. He doesn't have a speech. We'll come back if and when we want to, not because you asked. Make sure you check out the merch that we have, store.distractablepodcast.com. Make sure you check out Markiplier, Wade at LordMinion777 or Minion777. My username is MySkerm on all of those places where you can watch videos and whatnot. That's going to be it. Another beautiful episode. Next time, the winner, Wade, will host So if you want to see what happens, tune in. And if you want to actually see what happens, tune in on Spotify, the only platform where you can watch Distractible on video and not just as an audio podcast. That's the end of the podcast. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Podcast out.